They say the price of shame is immeasurable. They're wrong. I know exactly what it costs. $200, crisp and clean, left on a mahogany nightstand next to an empty bottle of ridiculously expensive water. That clock. It was the first thing that pierced through the fog of cheap champagne and expensive whiskey. A sharp, insistent ticking that did nothing to soothe the frantic jackhammering inside my skull. My body felt heavy, bruised, like I'd run a marathon in my sleep. My eyes were still sealed shut, but I fumbled a hand out, searching for the familiar shape of my phone to silence an alarm that wasn't even ringing. My fingers brushed against something. Wrong. Not the cool glass of a screen, but skin. Warm, firm. My hand slid across a landscape of hard muscle, a chest so solid it felt like sculpted stone. My first foggy thought was, wow, Chloe's really been hitting the gym. And then I opened my eyes. The face that stared back at me, peaceful in sleep, was not my roommate's. It was all sharp angles and dark lashes, a jawline that could cut glass, lips slightly parted. It was the devastatingly handsome, impossibly young face of my new boss, Julian Croft. Why? Was I in bed with Julian Croft? A tidal wave of pure, cold panic washed over me. I yanked my hand back as if I'd been burned. My gaze flew downwards, beneath the thick, white hotel duvet. Nothing, not a single thread of fabric on my skin. What did I do? He was still asleep, his breathing deep and even. Moving with the stealth of a cat burglar, I slipped out of the bed. My clothes were a sad, tangled mess on the floor. I snatched them up, my hands shaking so badly I could barely pull on my dress. I didn't dare look for my underwear, but before I left, I did one last thing. I opened my wallet, pulled out the only $200 bills I had, and placed them neatly on the nightstand. A final, silent, humiliating statement. Then, I fled the scene of my own crime. When I got back to the apartment, Chloe was still dead to the world, sprawled across her bed in a tangle of limbs and blankets. I crept to my own bed, pretending to lie down, my heart still thudding against my ribs like a trapped bird. Just as I settled, Chloe's voice, thick with sleep, mumbled into her pillow, "You're a bastard. I'll make you pay." My blood ran cold. I froze, turning my head slowly, but her eyes were closed, her face slack. She was dreaming, her arms and legs twitching in some unconscious battle. A sigh of relief escaped my lips, so fragile it was barely a sound. I was safe, for now, but knowing I had to be at work in a few hours, I forced myself up. I feigned waking up for the first time, throwing the covers back with a theatrical yawn and heading for the closet. In the harsh light of the bathroom, the full extent of the disaster became clear. A dark, ugly bruise bloomed on the side of my neck. My whole body ached with a dull, persistent soreness. How could I have been so stupid, so reckless, and with him? A kid barely out of college, my superior. I shook my head, splashing cold water on my face, trying to wash away the memory. My name is Isabella Rossi. I'm 30 years old, an accountant. At this age, my friends are married, posting pictures of their toddlers and mortgages on Instagram. Me, I'm still single, tethered to the ghost of my first love. The man I was supposed to spend my life with, Ethan, was taken from me, and he took my heart with him. My parents, bless them, try. They're always pushing me to go on dates, to get back out there. But my heart isn't a commodity to be bartered in some awkward matchmaking setup. Love, for me, has to come from the soul, not from a well-meaning introduction. I've been on their disastrous setups. I'd show up, order a coffee, and politely, but firmly, shut it down. They've mostly given up now, They just look at me with that sad, worried expression. I finished getting ready, pulling on a conservative blouse with the highest turtleneck I owned. When I stepped out, Chloe was still a lump under the covers. I walked over and pulled the blanket off her. Rise and shine, sleeping beauty. The sun's already up. You're going to be late, she groaned, slowly sitting up and rubbing her eyes. You're back? When did you get in? I didn't even hear you. I feigned nonchalance, turning away to grab my purse. Oh, late. You were already out cold. You sleep so soundly. Someone could probably carry you off and you wouldn't even notice. She squinted at me. But I thought I was still up at 11. I didn't see you. You said it was just a company dinner. What took you so long? It was a big celebration. Lots of people. It just went on for a while. I lied, my voice tight. Anyway, you should get up. I have a mountain of work today. Chloe swung her legs out of bed. You go ahead. My company doesn't care if I'm a few minutes late. Hey, are you going to be home for dinner tonight? I can swing by the market. And what's with the turtleneck? It's like 70 degrees out. No, I just feel a little chilly today. That's all, I stammered, grabbing my bag. I gotta go. I'll try to be back early. I practically ran out the door and drove straight to the office. In the lobby, I joined the morning crowd waiting for the elevator. And then, through the sea of faces, I saw him, Julian, walking towards the elevator bank. My instincts screamed. I couldn't face him. Not now. Not ever. I quickly maneuvered myself to the back of the crowd, using the bodies of my colleagues as a human shield. When the elevator arrived at my floor, I squeezed my way out without a backward glance and practically collapsed into my desk chair, letting out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. He didn't see me. Thank God. I tried to rationalize it. I left the money. It was a clear message, a transaction. He gets his satisfaction. I pay for my mistake, and we never, ever speak of it again. He has nothing to lose. I'm the one with everything on the line. I just had to pray to whatever deity was listening that the alcohol had wiped his memory clean, because if he remembered, I didn't know if I could keep working here. I swore to myself, never again. Meanwhile, in a suite at the Four Seasons, Julian Croft woke up. He pressed the heels of his hands into his temples, a dull ache throbbing behind his eyes. As he swung his legs out of bed, his gaze fell on the $200 bills sitting on the nightstand, a flash of memory. The after party. Him, drunker than he'd been in years. Going up to his room, a woman stumbling out of the bathroom, equally intoxicated. He tried to help her, to call her a cab, but she wouldn't wake up. Instead, she'd pulled him closer, her hands in his hair. And his control, frayed by alcohol and exhaustion, had simply snapped. They had fallen into bed together, a tangled mess of limbs and desperate need. Now, heading to the office, he saw her, the woman from last night. She was in his elevator, hiding at the back, her face a mask of panic. He watched her scurry away, and a strange mix of anger and confusion churned in his gut. Was she going to try and blackmail him, accuse him of something? But then he remembered the money. $200. Did she really think he was an escort? The thought was so absurd, so insulting. It made him clench his jaw. He strode into his office, the glass door shutting with a soft whoosh behind him. He jabbed the button on his intercom. Alex, get in here. His assistant entered, pen and pad at the ready. Yes, Mr. Croft. Julian's voice was ice. You have 30 minutes. Find out everything you can about the woman I was with at the hotel last night. He paused, then looked up, his brow furrowed in concentration. The assistant, seeing the storm gathering in his boss's eyes, simply nodded and backed out of the room. Julian leaned back in his leather chair, spinning a pen between his fingers, his eyes fixed on the city skyline. He wasn't just here for this job. He was here for her, the girl from his past, the fierce, fearless girl who had defended him from bullies when he was a scrawny, terrified kid. He could still see her face, so full of life and righteous anger. He'd been searching for her for years, ever since his family had moved away. He'd come to this city, taken this promotion, all on the slim chance he might find her again, to keep a promise he'd made to himself all those years ago. A few minutes later, Alex returned, holding a single personnel file. He placed it on the desk. "Sir, we found her. She's an employee here, in the accounting department. If this information gets out, it could be problematic. I can talk to her for you, sir. Or we could just let HR handle it. Termination." Julian waved him away without looking up. As the door closed, he opened the file. His eyes scanned the information. Then he froze. He stared at the photograph, clipped to the page. It was older, but it was unmistakably her. The same eyes, the same stubborn set to her jaw. The girl he'd been searching for all this time. He looked at her previous address, listed in her initial application. It was the same small town where he'd met her. He picked up his phone, his finger hovering over the number listed in her file. My desk phone rang, jolting me out of a spreadsheet. A strange number. I rarely gave out my work extension to anyone outside of a few colleagues and my family. It was probably another one of my mother's matchmaking attempts. I ignored it, letting it go to voicemail. It rang again. Immediately, I muttered under my breath, "God, you psycho. Take a hint." Annoyed, I silenced the ringer and tried to focus on my work. In his office, Julian stared at his phone, a muscle twitching in his jaw. She hung up on me. No one hung up on him. He never had to call anyone more than once. The sheer audacity of it. He felt a surge of irrational anger. He jabbed the intercom again. "Alex." His assistant hurried back in. "Sir, get her up here. Now." "Her, sir? Who?" Julian's temper snapped. He slammed his hand on the desk, holding up the personnel file. "This woman. Now, get out." The assistant practically fled. A minute later, he appeared at the entrance to the accounting department. "Isabella Rossi, Mr. Croft wants to see you." My head snapped up. Every nerve in my body went on high alert. He remembers. Why else would the new CEO's personal assistant be summoning me? This was it. The conversation about last night. My stomach twisted into a knot. I stood up, my legs feeling like lead, and followed the assistant. The walk to the executive suite felt like a mile. I could feel my palms sweating. Everyone said Julian Croft was a prodigy, a genius who'd skyrocketed through the corporate ranks. They also said he was ruthless, cold. What was he going to say? What did he want? The assistant stopped outside a large oak door. "He's inside." Then he turned and walked away, leaving me alone in the hallway. I took a deep, shaky breath and knocked. "Come in." The voice from inside was low and controlled. I slowly opened the door and stepped in. He was sitting at his massive desk, his head bent over some paperwork, not even looking up. I walked forward until I was standing in front of him. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. You wanted to see me, Mr. Croft?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't respond. He just kept writing. I tried again, a little louder this time. "Is there something you need? I have a lot of work to get back to." Finally, he lifted his head. His eyes, those same eyes from this morning, but now they were wide awake and boring into me. He slowly stood up. He was even taller than I remembered. He walked over to a small bar, poured a glass of water, and then moved to the leather sofa against the wall, sitting down and crossing his legs. He still hadn't said a word. "Mr. Croft, if you have something to say, please just say it." He took a slow sip of water, his eyes never leaving my face. "Have you already forgotten what happened last night? Why were you in my room? I knew this was coming. I'd prepared for it." I kept my voice steady, professional. "I honestly don't know. And frankly, Mr. Croft, I think it's best if we both just pretend it never happened." "I'm not pretending," he said, his voice dangerously soft. "I care. What did you think I was? An escort? Leaving money for me before you left?" The directness of the question hit me like a physical blow. I had no answer. Seeing my silence, he continued, his tone turning to ice. "I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, climbing into my bed like that, but I suggest you go buy a morning after pill. The last thing I need is some bastard child running around with my name." His words were like acid. All my fear, all my shame, curdled into pure, white-hot rage. I stood up straight, my chin high. "Don't worry, Mr. Croft. I have no intention of holding you responsible for anything. What happened last night was an accident. And if you think I climbed into your bed for money, you're dead wrong. Rest assured, your secret is safe with me. I won't tell a soul. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." I turned to leave. "Stop." I paused at the door, my back still to him. "What now? Take your money. I don't need it." My face burned with humiliation. I turned around. He was holding out the $200 bills. Fine. If he was going to be cheap about it, I'd save the money. I walked back, snatched the bills from his hand without a word, and walked out, slamming the door behind me. Back at my desk, the anger gave way to a fresh wave of misery. He really thinks I planned it, that I seduced him on purpose. I tried to piece together the night, the party, getting drunk, needing the bathroom, stumbling into the wrong room, seeing a bed. It felt so soft. And then, nothing. Blackness. The rest was a blur, a collage of sensations I couldn't quite place, but his words echoed in my head. Buy a morning after pill. He was right. God, he was right. What if? I couldn't even finish the thought. I quickly excused myself, ran down to the pharmacy across the street, and bought the pill. I swallowed it dry in the aisle, my hands still shaking. This can never, ever happen again. After work, the scent of garlic and simmering tomatoes greeted me as I walked into the apartment. Chloe was home. I stepped inside and saw a pair of men's size 11 sneakers by the door. Her boyfriend, Mark, must be over. It was a common sight. They were practically joined at the hip. I walked into our small kitchen and found them standing by the stove. Mark's arms wrapped around Chloe's waist as she stirred a pot of pasta sauce. It was a picture of domestic bliss, so painfully normal, it made my own chaotic life feel even more alien. "Hey, lovebirds," I said, forcing a smile. "Making dinner that requires that much physical contact must be good. You're making the rest of us single losers jealous." Chloe laughed, leaning back into Mark's chest. "You're back. I thought you'd be later. Go wash up. Dinner's almost ready." All right, I said, heading to my room. It was funny, really. Just that morning, I'd heard her cursing Mark in her sleep, and now here they were, looking like a scene from a romantic comedy. I grabbed a change of clothes and headed for the shower. As the hot water cascaded over me, my phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced at the screen. "Mom," I sighed and answered, pressing the phone between my ear and shoulder. "Hey, Mom. Isabella, you're home from work. Just got in. You know, some of us have jobs. Don't be fresh. Listen, have you been so busy you can't even come home anymore? I don't understand why you insist on living in that little apartment when you have a perfectly good room here. Her voice was a familiar cocktail of love and exasperation. Mom, we've been over this. I like my independence. Independence. Right. Anyway, listen. I need you to come home tomorrow. I have a favor to ask. My internal alarms went off. Is it another setup, Mom? Because I swear, I'm not doing it. Oh, for heaven's sake. Does a mother call her daughter for one thing, and she immediately assumes it's matchmaking? I'm hurt, Isabella, truly. Is it or isn't it? It's not, I promise. So, you'll be home for dinner? Fine, Mom. I'll be there after work. Yes, good. Now let me go. I have to make dinner for your father and your sister. And don't get me started on Mia. She's useless in the kitchen. Mom, let her cook. She's almost an adult. What does she know? She's busy with her studies. It's easier if I just do it. You spoil her, you know that. Just be here tomorrow. Bye. Click. She hung up before I could say another word. I sighed, placing the phone back on the counter. I finished my shower and walked out to the living room, where the table was already set. Wow, I said, raising an eyebrow at Chloe. Look at you. Mark comes over, and suddenly you're Martha Stewart. Chloe rolled her eyes, placing a bowl of salad on the table. Oh, please, as if I let you starve when he's not here. True, I conceded. All right, let's eat. By the way, I'm staying at my parents' place tonight. You two have fun. You sure? Mark asked. You don't have to. Positive. You two kids enjoy your night. I can handle one night alone with my family's nagging. After dinner, they left for a movie, and I found myself alone in the quiet apartment. Loneliness crept in, a familiar ache. I picked up my phone, opened Facebook, and navigated to a private message thread. It was with someone I'd been talking to for a while now, a stranger I'd met in a shared interest group. We connected instantly, our conversations flowing easily, but we'd never seen each other's faces. We both preferred the anonymity. It felt safer that way. His profile picture was just a generic landscape, his name a simple pseudonym. His status showed he was online. I typed a quick message. Hey, dinner already? You're online early. I waited. No reply. I shrugged and started scrolling through my newsfeed, mindlessly liking photos of my friends' babies and vacations. A few minutes later, a notification popped up. Just finished. You too? Yep. Just got some free time. Catching up on the world. What are you up to? Just working. What about you? Anything exciting happening? Nothing much. Just getting ready for a wedding this weekend. Down in Monterey. Oh, nice. Sounds fun. It's for my mom's friend's son. She can't make it, so I have to go represent the family. Ah, the dutiful son. Something like that. Anyway, I should get back to it. Talk soon. Okay. Good night. I put the phone down, a small smile on my face. It was strange how talking to him, this complete unknown, could feel more comforting than talking to almost anyone else. The next evening, I drove to my parents' house. As soon as I walked in, I was enveloped in the familiar chaos of my family. My younger sister, Mia, was glued to her phone on the sofa. My dad was watching the news, and my mom was in the kitchen, orchestrating dinner like a 5-star general. There you are, she said, wiping her hands on her apron. Go wash up. Dinner's ready. We all gathered around the dining table, the air filled with the aroma of my mother's cooking. As much as I valued my independence, moments like these made me miss being home. Here, I didn't have to worry about anything. Mom took care of it all. Later that night, I lay in my childhood bed, next to Mia, who was still texting furiously on her phone. the screen illuminating her face in the dark. Probably a boy. I felt a pang of something. Not jealousy. Exactly. Nostalgia. I remembered a time when I had that, when my nights were filled with whispered goodnights and promises of tomorrow with Ethan. But then the sickness came, swift and cruel, and stole him away. Since then, no one else has even come close to filling that void. What are you thinking about so hard, Izzy? Mia's voice cut through my thoughts. I turned my head on the pillow. Nothing. Just thinking. You're thinking about Ethan again, aren't you? Her voice was soft, knowing. He's gone, Izzy. You have to let him go. For your sake, and for his. He wouldn't want you to be sad forever. He can't come back. You have to live for you now. I know, I whispered. Go to sleep. We turned away from each other, the silence in the room heavy with unspoken words. The next morning, I got to the office early. As I was heading towards the building, I saw Julian walking just ahead of me. I immediately veered off, pretending to be engrossed in my phone, anything to avoid sharing an elevator with him. I waited until the doors slid shut before I breathed a sigh of relief and pressed the call button for the next one. But as I stood there, a voice spoke from right behind me. Avoiding me? I jumped, spinning around. It was him. How did he? No, of course not. The other one was just crowded. I thought I'd wait. The lie sounded flimsy even to my own ears. Is that so? I thought maybe you were hiding from me. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped inside, desperate to escape. A few other people followed, and the morning rush pushed me forward until I stumbled, my body colliding with his chest. Before I could recoil, another surge from behind pressed me firmly against him again. My face was on fire. I could feel the heat of his body, smell the faint, clean scent of his cologne. Have you had enough? He murmured, his voice a low rumble against my ear. I scrambled away, pressing myself into the corner of the elevator, my heart hammering. Of all the people, I couldn't believe this. We'd slept together, and now I was practically being dry-humped against him by a crowd of my colleagues. He was younger than me, for God's sake, and so infuriatingly arrogant. If he wasn't my boss, I would have given him a piece of my mind right then and there. When I finally got to my desk, I was still fuming. My coworker, Amy, a sweet girl fresh out of college, came over and tapped me on the shoulder. Hey, Isabella, what's with the grumpy face? Just some nonsense, that's all. Forget it. Let's get to work. Okay. I'm just going to make some copies. As the day wore on, my anger subsided into a familiar, weary resignation. At lunchtime, the whole department headed down to the cafeteria. A few minutes later, Julian and his entourage walked in, the new CEO making a point of being seen eating with the common folk. Unlike the last guy, I tried my best to ignore him, keeping my eyes on my plate. But after what happened, I found myself acutely aware of his presence, deliberately avoiding his gaze. It was my fault, after all. I was the one who got drunk. I was the one who stumbled into his room. I had no right to make a scene. And then the weekend came, the wedding in Monterey. My mother had guilt-tripped me into it yesterday. It's for the daughter of my oldest friend, Maria. I already promised we'd be there. But your father and I have to go visit your grandmother. You're the eldest. You have to go. Mia can't drive that far. So there I was, after a 2-hour drive down the coast. Feeling tired and out of place, I found a taxi to take me to the venue. A beautiful seaside resort. I found my mom's friend, gave her the gift, and made my excuses. She pointed me towards a table. Go sit over there, dear. You'll be with some lovely young people. I walked over to the designated table, and my heart sank. It was filled with guys who looked like they'd just stepped out of a fraternity house. I sighed and took a seat, feeling incredibly awkward. I didn't know a soul. I sat there quietly, watching the bride and groom, when I heard a familiar voice next to me. I turned my head, and my jaw nearly hit the floor. It couldn't be. Julian, sitting right next to me. Of all the weddings, in all the towns, in all the world, he had to walk into this one. What are the odds? It was a cosmic joke. I immediately turned my head away, pretending I hadn't seen him, hoping he wouldn't recognize me. The reception dragged on. Eventually, people started to leave. Our table was one of the last. I said my goodbyes to the table at large, grabbed my purse, and made a beeline for the exit. I said a quick farewell to the bride and groom's parents, explaining I had to work early Monday and needed to get back. I was standing outside, trying to call a cab, when a sleek black car pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down. It was Julian. "It's on the way. Get in, I'll give you a ride." I didn't even want to look at him. "No, thank you. I can get my own ride." "Don't be ridiculous. It's late. There aren't many cars around here. Just get in." "No, I'm fine. You go ahead." He stared at me for a second, then the window rolled up and the car sped away. Good. I didn't care. I walked over to a security guard standing nearby. "Excuse me, sir. Do you know if there are any buses back to the city this late?" "Buses stopped running hours ago, miss. You might be able to get a late shuttle around 8 though. Here's the number." I thanked him and took the card. 8 o'clock. It was only 5. 3 hours to kill. I called the shuttle service, booked a seat, and started walking. I was so lost in thought that I didn't notice the hand that suddenly shot out and grabbed my purse. A kid, no older than 16, yanked it from my shoulder and took off running. Instinct took over. "Hey, stop. Thief," I yelled, chasing after him. I was surprisingly fast. I caught up to him, grabbed the back of his hoodie, and used a move my dad, a former cop, had taught me. I kicked his leg out from under him. He went down hard. I stood over him, panting. "You little punk. You think you can just rob people. You picked the wrong woman today. Let's go. You and me are going to the police station." The kid started crying, real tears streaming down his face. "Please, lady, no. I'm sorry. Please, don't call the cops. My mom, she's sick. She needs medicine. I just got a job, but my boss hasn't paid me yet." I was desperate. "Please, I promise I'll never do it again. If my mom finds out, she'll have a heart attack." I looked at him, a skinny kid with tear-stained cheeks, and my anger evaporated. I let go of his hoodie. "Get up," I said, my voice softer now. "Clean yourself up. Look, I get it. Life is hard, but stealing is never the answer. What if the money you stole was all someone had for their own sick mother? You can't solve your problems by creating them for someone else. You're a young man. You can find work. Don't go down this road. You're lucky you ran into me tonight. Someone else might not have been so understanding." I opened my purse, took out my wallet, and pulled out a few bills. "Here, it's not much, but it's enough for your mom's medicine. Now go home, and don't ever let me see you doing this again." "Thank you," he sobbed. "Thank you so much. I won't. I promise. You be careful on your way home." I watched him run off into the darkness, then let out a long, shaky breath. It was a good thing my dad insisted I take those self-defense classes. That was impressive. I spun around. Julian, leaning against a wall, watching me. "Weren't you leaving?" I snapped, my adrenaline still pumping. "Forgot something. Had to come back. Saw you chasing a purse snatcher. Didn't realize my accountant was also a vigilante. I was just getting my property back. Is that a problem? Not at all. So, now that the excitement's over, are you going to let me drive you home? It's getting late. I looked around. The street was deserted. The thought of waiting here alone for another 3 hours was suddenly very unappealing. I sighed in defeat. Fine. I climbed into the back seat of his car, putting as much distance between us as possible. I expected him to get in the front, but to my surprise, he slid into the back seat with me. I immediately scooted closer to the door, staring out the window, refusing to speak. The gentle motion of the car and the exhaustion of the day soon caught up with me. My eyelids grew heavy. I leaned my head against the cool glass of the window and, before I knew it, I was asleep. Julian watched her. Her head kept bumping against the window as the car moved. He remembered her from all those years ago. She was 2 years older than him, but her face was still the same. He'd been visiting his grandparents in her small town when a group of older boys had decided to use him as a punching bag. She had appeared out of nowhere, a whirlwind of fury, and fought them off, leaving them bruised and bloody. Their parents had come to her house, screaming at her parents. He'd heard her getting yelled at later and felt a terrible wave of guilt. The next day, his parents picked him up, and he never saw her again. He'd heard her family had moved away. He'd spent years looking for her, and now, here she was. But she didn't remember him at all. Her head bumped hard against the window again. He sighed, then gently reached out and guided her head to rest on his shoulder. She was so small, so fierce. He wondered when, or if, she would ever remember the scrawny little boy she had saved. I woke up with a start. I looked at the clock on the car's dashboard. We should have been back by now. It had been over 2 hours. Why are you driving so slow? We should be home by now. He turned to look at me, a smirk playing on his lips. What's the rush? Trying to get home to your secret lover? You're awake, I see. You sleep like the dead. I could have thrown you out of the car, and you wouldn't have noticed. It's none of your business. And for the record, I didn't ask you to let me sleep in your car. Is that how you talk to your boss? Outside of the office, you're just a guy. And right now, I'm older than you, so you should show some respect. Got it? You want me to call you ma'am? Not a chance. Whatever, I grumbled, turning to look out the window again. I pulled out my phone and sent a quick text to Chloe, letting her know I was on my way. A little while later, the driver's voice came from the front. Where to, miss? I gave him my address. 15 minutes later, we pulled up in front of my apartment building. Thanks for the ride, I said, getting out of the car. Bye. Before I had even taken a step, the car sped off, tires squealing. Now he drives fast, I thought with a roll of my eyes. What a jerk. I walked inside to find Chloe already asleep. I got ready for bed and collapsed onto my mattress. The long, strange day finally over. I wouldn't be going to any more weddings for a very long time. That night, I dreamt of Ethan. He was walking towards me, a gentle smile on his face. Isabella, he said, his voice a soft echo. I have to go now. You need to live your life. Be happy. Don't keep thinking about me, okay? Find someone who makes you happy. Goodbye, my love. His image faded, and I cried out, reaching for him. Ethan, don't leave me. Take me with you. Isabella. Izzy, wake up. You're having a nightmare. I shot up in bed, my face wet with tears, my body drenched in sweat. Chloe was sitting beside me, a worried look on her face. Another one? You have to stop doing this to yourself. It's breaking your heart over and over again. She was right. For years, these dreams had haunted me. The only nights I slept soundly were the ones where I took a sleeping pill. I was still so deeply in love with a memory. It would be 3 years to the day, in just a couple of days since we lost him. I never missed a visit to his family on the anniversary. Chloe handed me a glass of water. I drank it down, my hand shaking. She climbed into bed with me, and I was grateful for her presence. I was afraid to be alone, afraid the dream would come back. The next morning at work, I ran into another colleague, David, in the hallway. "Hey, Isabella. In early today." "Yeah, got a lot to catch up on," I said with a weak smile. "Did you have breakfast yet? Let me grab you a coffee." "I'm good, David. Thanks. I should get to work." "Okay. But hey, are you free tonight? For coffee? My daughter, Mitzi, keeps asking about you. She wants to see you." I keep telling her you're busy, but you know how kids are. I wanted to say no, but the thought of disappointing little Mitzi stopped me. The poor kid had lost her mom when she was just a baby. She'd taken a real liking to me on the few occasions David had brought her to the office. "Okay," I said, my resolve crumbling. "The usual place. Tonight, I'll be there." "Thanks, Isabella. You're the best." I walked into the elevator, my thoughts drifting to David, a single dad, raising his daughter alone after his wife passed away 3 years ago. He was a good man, the kind of man you rarely find anymore. Plenty of women at the office had tried to get his attention, but he always politely turned them down. I sat at my desk, and Amy came over. "You're here already? You're always so early." "Am I? What's got you in such a good mood today?" "Nothing special. Just closed a big contract, so I'm feeling good." "Congratulations. You're making the rest of us look bad." "Hey, I'm just a supporting player. The team did all the hard work." "So, you free tonight? Let's go out and celebrate." Can't. I have plans." "Another time?" "Sure." "Hey, what happened at the dinner the other night? You left so early. I turned around, and you were gone." Her question brought back a flash of the hotel room, the bruise on my neck, the $200 on the nightstand. I quickly changed the subject. "Oh, you know, it's getting late. Time to get to work before the big boss comes down and starts cracking the whip." "Who? Me?" a voice said from behind us. I froze. It was Julian. "I didn't say anything, sir," I stammered. "You didn't? I thought I heard someone say I crack the whip." "Did you want me to sing for you, Miss Rossi?" "No, sir. Of course not." "Are you eavesdropping on your employees now, sir?" The words were out of my mouth before I could stop them. He raised an eyebrow. "When you speak that loudly, Miss Rossi, the whole floor can hear you." I fell silent, my face burning. He stared at me for a moment longer, then walked towards his office without another word. Amy scurried back to her desk. "Oh my God," she whispered, leaning over the cubicle wall. "You actually talked back to him. You're brave." He was eavesdropping. If he weren't the CEO, I'd have given him a piece of my mind. "You're crazy, you know that? Be careful, or he might actually come down here again." "Let him," I muttered, turning back to my spreadsheets. But my hands were trembling. The rest of the day passed in a blur of numbers and reports. Just before lunch, my desk phone rang again. It was Alex, Julian's assistant. "Isabella, Mr. Croft needs to see you in his office. Again." "What now?" I walked up to the executive suite, my stomach doing nervous flip-flops. I found him sitting at his desk, engrossed in his work, same as before. "You wanted to see me, sir?" I asked, trying to keep my voice from shaking. Silence. I stepped closer, tapping lightly on his desk. "Mr. Croft, if you have something to say, please say it. I'd like to get back to my work." He finally looked up, his expression unreadable. "Tonight, you're coming with me to meet a client." I was taken aback. "Tonight? Sir, I have plans. Can't you ask someone else?" "That's not really part of my job description." "It is now." and you can't cancel your plans. They're important. Then you can choose. Either you come with me tonight, or you don't come into the office tomorrow. His tone was flat, leaving no room for argument. I was trapped. I was an accountant, not a corporate schmoozer. What did he want me for? But why me? That's an order, Miss Rossi. Be ready. I stood there for a moment, seething. He was using his power to bully me. And for what? Just to prove a point. I hated being ordered around, but I couldn't afford to lose this job. Still, I wasn't going to make it easy for him. I had already promised David I would see Mitzi. That evening, as soon as the clock hit 5, I packed my bag and left without so much as a glance in the direction of his office. Back at the apartment, I showered and was getting ready to meet David when my phone rang. It was Julian's number. I stared at it, then handed the phone to Chloe. Here, I said. Answer this. Tell him I'm sick and can't make it. Why don't you just answer it yourself? She asked, confused. Just do it for me, please. I'll explain later. Chloe took the phone and put on her best concerned friend voice. Hello? Oh, hi. I'm so sorry. Isabella's not feeling well at all. I don't think she'll be able to make it tonight. Maybe you can call her back tomorrow. She handed the phone back to me, an eyebrow raised. He sounded pissed. Who was that? Anyway, my new boss, I said with a sigh. The one I was telling you about. The hot but annoying one. That's him. He's trying to force me to go to a client meeting tonight, but I already promised David I'd see Mitzi. You know, I've never seen a boss take so much interest in an accountant before. And his voice? It's pretty sexy. He sounds handsome. He is, but he's younger than me, and a total jerk. Not my type. Chloe laughed. You know what they say. The one you hate is the one you end up with. Don't even joke about that. Anyway, I gotta go. Don't wait up. Wait, you know. I think David likes you. The way he looks at you when he comes to pick you up, it's different. He's just a friend, Chloe. A colleague. Stop trying to play matchmaker. I grabbed my purse and headed out the door. David and Mitzi were already waiting for me outside. Sorry to make you wait, I said. You should have just met me at the cafe. Mitzi ran up and hugged my legs. Auntie Izzy, I missed you. I smiled, ruffling her hair. I missed you too, sweetie. I'm sorry I've been so busy lately. We got on David's scooter, me sitting behind him with Mitzi sandwiched between us, her small arms wrapped around my waist. He drove us to our favorite little cafe, the one with the rooftop terrace that overlooked the whole city. As soon as we arrived, Mitzi ran to our usual table by the railing. Look, Auntie Izzy, it's so pretty from up here. Can we go to that park one day? Please, David smiled. Mitzi, Auntie Isabella has to work, remember? It was nice of her to even come out with us tonight. It's okay, I said. Whenever you're free, Mitzi, and I am too, I'll take you. I promise. But you have to be good and listen to your dad, okay? I always listen to Daddy. He's a big mean lion at home, you know. David chuckled. Hey, don't talk about your dad like that. We were laughing and talking, and for the first time all day, I felt myself relax. I was telling Mitzi a story, making her giggle, when I saw them, Julian, and a man I didn't recognize, walking into the cafe. My heart plummeted. Of all the places in this city, I quickly turned my head, hoping he wouldn't see me. If he knew I'd lied about being sick. But it was too late. Well, look who it is. Feeling better, Miss Rossi? His voice was dripping with sarcasm. I slowly turned to face him. He was standing right next to our table. I had something I had to do, I stammered. Something more important than your job, I see. I told you, if you didn't come, You didn't have to bother showing up tomorrow. David stood up, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. Sir, this is my fault. Please don't blame Isabella. I'll take full responsibility. Julian's eyes were blazing. He was clearly furious. First, I'd had my roommate lie for me, and now here I was, laughing and having a good time. But he recognized David from the office. He took a deep, calming breath. Fine, he said, his voice clipped. This time, but it won't happen again. He then turned to me. Are you coming or not? David gave me a small nod, signaling that it was okay. I didn't want to go, but I was out of options. I knelt down to Mitzi, whose face had fallen. Hey, sweetie, I said softly. You go have a fun night with your daddy, okay? I have to go do some work stuff, but next time I'll spend the whole day with you. Deal. Mitzi nodded sadly. You promise? I promise. I followed Julian to a private room in the back of the cafe. The air was thick with cigar smoke and the smell of expensive whiskey. A group of older men were sitting around a table with women who were clearly half their age draped over them. It felt sleazy. I immediately understood the kind of client meeting this was. Sit down, Julian said, gesturing to an empty chair next to one of the older men. I'd rather stand. Thank you, I said, crossing my arms. Sit down. He wasn't asking. I reluctantly sat, perching on the edge of the chair. He sat down next to me, creating a buffer between me and the lecherous-looking man beside him. You're not scared sitting next to me, are you? He murmured, his voice low. After all, we've already slept together. His words were a low blow, and I felt my cheeks flush with anger. Don't you dare bring that up again, I hissed. I was the one who lost something that night, not you. You think you're the only one who lost something. Don't be so sure. Before I could retort, the older man next to him leaned over. Well, hello there, beautiful. How about a drink with me? I looked at Julian, expecting him to intervene, but he just stared straight ahead, a blank expression on his face. I was on my own. I couldn't refuse without causing a scene. Of course, I said, forcing a smile. I took the glass of beer he offered me. Everyone at the table cheered. I took a sip, the bitter liquid burning my throat. Another, someone shouted. I was trapped. But then, an idea sparked. I picked up the contract that was sitting on the table and held it out to the man. I'll have 2 more drinks with you, I said, my voice clear and steady. If you sign this contract right now, the man burst out laughing. Well, look at this. She's a feisty one. I like that. You know what? It's a deal. I was going to sign with you guys anyway. You've got guts, kid. He took the contract, signed it with a flourish, and pushed it back towards me. All right. Now, your end of the bargain. I smiled. Thank you for your business, sir. Our company appreciates it. I then picked up my glass, drained it, and immediately poured another, drinking it down without pausing. The room erupted in applause. Only one person wasn't clapping. Julian. He was just watching me, his jaw tight, a strange expression on his face. As I set the glass down, the older man's hand snaked around my waist. I instantly recoiled. Excuse me, I said, standing up. I just need to use the restroom for a moment. Of course, my dear. We'll be waiting. I walked out of the room, my heart pounding. As soon as the door closed behind me, I wiped my waist where he had touched me, a feeling of disgust crawling over my skin. In the bathroom, I splashed cold water on my face. 3 beers. My head was spinning. I couldn't go back in there. I pulled out my phone and sent a quick text to Julian's number. Contract signed. I'm leaving. Then I walked out of the cafe and into the cool night air. I hadn't come in my own car, so I just started walking, with no particular destination in mind. The city lights blurred around me as I walked, lost in thought. I found myself thinking of Ethan again, of the long walks we used to take. Just like this, my feet began to ache. The alcohol was starting to hit me hard. I sank onto a nearby park bench, and suddenly, the weight of everything came crashing down on me. I buried my face in my hands and began to cry. "What are you crying about?" I looked up, startled. It was Julian. "Are you following me?" "Don't flatter yourself." The meeting was over. You think you can just sign a deal and walk out. What happens if the client has questions? If the company loses because of you, who's going to be responsible? The contract is signed. What more do you want? I couldn't stay in there. It wasn't my kind of place. If I had stayed any longer, I don't know what would have happened. He sighed, the anger seeming to drain out of him. "Come on, I'll take you home." He walked off to get his car, and a few minutes later, he pulled up in front of the bench. I got in, and we drove in silence. When we got to my apartment, I muttered a quick thank you and got out, not waiting for a reply. Chloe was already there, her face a mask of concern when she saw my flushed cheeks. "You went with him. What happened? Are you drunk?" "Just a couple of beers." It was a client meeting at that cafe. I ran into him there. "And who drove you home?" "Don't tell me it was him." "Who else?" I said, kicking off my shoes. "Look, can you get me a glass of lemonade? My head is killing me." Chloe went to the kitchen, and I changed into my pajamas and collapsed into bed. 2 days later, on the anniversary of Ethan's death, I bought a bouquet of his favorite lilies and some fruit and went to visit his parents. They greeted me at the door like I was their own daughter. "Isabella, you came," his mother said, her eyes welling up as she hugged me. "I had to, Mrs. Davis. Let me go light a candle for him first." I went to the small shrine they had set up in the living room. His smiling face looked out at me from a silver frame. I lit a candle and stood there for a long moment, my heart aching. "I'm trying, Ethan. I'm trying to move on, like you asked. I'm trying to be happy." I joined his mother at the kitchen table. She placed a cup of tea in front of me. "Isabella, honey," she said, her voice gentle. "You need to live for yourself now. Ethan is gone. You can't keep holding on to him like this." "I know," I whispered. "I know." I stayed for a little while longer, then said my goodbyes. I still had to go to work. As I was walking into the office building, Julian was walking out. "Where have you been?" he asked, his tone accusatory. I had a personal matter to attend to. "What kind of personal matter?" Before I could answer, he just shook his head and walked off towards the cafeteria. He wanted to ask her about the past, about why she didn't recognize him, but every time he saw her, she looked at him with such disdain. Did he really seem that hateful to her? I walked into the office, my mood already sour. My head was starting to throb. I sat at my desk and rubbed my temples, but the pain wouldn't go away. I took some aspirin from my purse, but it didn't help. The stress of the past few weeks was catching up with me. I put my head down on my desk just for a moment. "Are you sleeping on the job, Miss Rossi?" I looked up. Julian, again. "What is it now? Can't I even have a moment's rest? It's not even 9 o'clock yet. This isn't a hotel. If you're not feeling well, go home. I won't have people saying my company overworks its employees." "I'm fine," I said through gritted teeth. "I'll get back to work now. Is there anything else you need?" He just stared at me for a moment, then turned and walked away. The headache eventually subsided, and I threw myself into my work. The end of the year was approaching, and the workload was piling up. 2 months later, the company announced its annual trip. This year, it was to Hawaii. I didn't want to go, but Amy begged and pleaded until I finally gave in. The company had booked a block of rooms at a resort, and we were all assigned roommates. By some cruel twist of fate, I was assigned to a suite with Julian, but I didn't know that yet. At the airport, I found my seat on the plane, stowed my luggage, and settled in. I was supposed to be sitting with Amy, but at the last minute, someone else slid into the seat next to me. "Julian, what are you doing here?" I asked, stunned. "This is Amy's seat." "This is a plane, Miss Rossi, not a school bus. You sit where your ticket tells you to sit. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to get some rest." I fell silent, turning to stare out the window. As the plane began to take off, the familiar feeling of pressure and nausea washed over me. I hated flying. I gripped the armrest, my knuckles turning white, but my hand closed over another hand, Julian's. My face flushed, and I tried to pull away, but he didn't let go. In fact, his grip tightened. I glanced over at him. His eyes were closed, his jaw clenched. Was he afraid of heights? A CEO who was afraid of flying. The irony was almost too much. Once we reached cruising altitude, he finally released my hand. "I'm sorry," he said, not looking at me. "You're afraid of heights?" I usually drive, but this was a company trip. I couldn't exactly take a boat. "Wow," I said, a small smile playing on my lips. "All that tough guy act, and you're scared of a little turbulence. Who said I was scared?" He grumbled, though his face was a little pale. I knew I was being petty, but I couldn't help it. I closed my eyes, pretending to sleep. A little while later, I must have actually drifted off, because I felt a gentle pressure on my head. Julian, seeing my head bobbing, had shifted in his seat and let me rest my head on his shoulder. He looked down at me, sleeping soundly, and a small, sad smile touched his lips. He was so close to the person he'd been searching for, but she still felt a million miles away. "We're beginning our descent." The flight attendant's voice crackled over the intercom. I opened my eyes, disoriented, and then I realized where I was. My head was on Julian's shoulder. I sat up abruptly, my face on fire. I'm so sorry," I stammered. "You sleep like a rock," he said, a hint of amusement in his voice. "I could have pushed you out the emergency exit, and you wouldn't have noticed. I don't know what happened. Give me your hand," he said suddenly. "What? Why?" "The plane is landing. Are you going to help your boss out or not?" I hesitated for a moment, then sighed and held out my hand. He gripped it tightly as the plane touched down. I couldn't help but laugh a little. For all his bluster, he was just a big kid. When we got to the hotel, Amy and I found our room. It was beautiful, with a balcony overlooking the ocean. "This is amazing," Amy squealed. "We have to go swimming this afternoon." "I can't swim," I said. "So? We can just splash around in the shallow end." "Come on, it'll be fun." I didn't bring a swimsuit. Amy ran to her suitcase and pulled out 2 bikinis. "Don't worry, I brought an extra." I knew we'd be hitting the beach. I looked at the tiny scraps of fabric in her hand. "I can't wear that. It's too revealing." "Oh, please. This is practically a turtleneck in bikini form. Now, let's get changed." We changed, and I reluctantly put on the bikini, wrapping a towel tightly around myself. As we were heading out, we ran into Julian in the hallway. He was holding a bag of snacks. My eyes widened as his gaze swept over me. My towel, doing little to hide my state of undress. Snacks," he said, holding out the bag. "For you two. I was out and saw some stuff you girls might like." Amy, ever the foodie, snatched the bag. "Wow, thanks, boss. You didn't have to do that." "No problem," he said, his eyes still on me. Then he turned and walked away. Amy closed the door, her eyes wide. Did you see that? Did Mr. Croft just buy us snacks? Pinch me. I must be dreaming. Ow, I said, as she actually pinched me. He really did it, and I think they're for you, not me. He couldn't take his eyes off you. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not hungry. You can have them. I walked over to the bed and lay down, pulling out my phone. My friend from Facebook was online. Hey, you free? You're online early. On a trip. You. Same. Company trip. Where are you? Just as I was about to ask him the same question, my phone died. I plugged it in and decided to ask him later. Amy was already by the door, tapping her foot impatiently. Come on, let's go to the beach. We can take some selfies and then go for a swim. I sighed, grabbing my towel. Fine, but I'm not taking any pictures in this thing. We walked down to the beach, the warm sand soft beneath our feet. As we were about to claim a spot, we saw him again. Julian. I'm coming with you, he announced, falling into step beside us. We're just going for a swim, Amy said, confused. Why are you coming with us? This is a new place. I can't have two of my employees wandering off on their own. What if something happens? As your superior, it's my responsibility to ensure your safety. Just then, David walked up, a cheerful smile on his face. David, I called out, relieved. Are you heading to the beach too? I was just about to. You guys want to go together? It'll be more fun. Amy and I both grinned. Yes, let's go. Julian's face darkened. He clearly hadn't counted on David joining our little party. We all walked towards the water, Amy and I chatting animatedly with David, leaving Julian to trail behind us like a thundercloud. Amy, a selfie enthusiast, immediately started directing a photo shoot. Okay, David, can you take a picture of me and Isabella? She said, handing him her phone. She dragged me into the frame, and we struck a pose. David, ever the good sport, snapped away. Mr. Croft, Amy called out. Come join us. I don't take pictures, Julian said flatly. Oh, come on, just one. He sighed, a look of profound irritation on his face, and trudged over. Fine, give me the camera. I'll take the picture. Amy handed him the phone and then pulled me and David together. Okay, smile. We posed, and Julian took the picture. Then another, and another. He seemed to be taking his new role as photographer very seriously. When he was finally done, the three of us crowded around the phone to see the results. My jaw dropped. In every single photo, I was nowhere to be seen. It was just David and Amy, perfectly framed. It looked like Julian had deliberately angled the camera to cut me out of every shot. I whirled around to face him, my hands on my hips. What is this? Where am I? He shrugged. A picture of innocence. I told you I wasn't good at taking pictures. You're the one who insisted. The sheer audacity of it left me speechless. He had done it on purpose. I was so angry I could barely speak. You did that on purpose, I sputtered. Did what? He asked, his eyes wide with fake surprise. I can't even talk to you. I turned to Amy. Come on, let's go swimming. We dropped our towels and ran into the cool, clear water. Neither of us were strong swimmers, but we stayed in the shallows, laughing and splashing each other, chasing the gentle waves as they rolled onto the shore. The ocean had always been a special place for me and Ethan. He used to play his guitar for me on the beach, and I would sing along. The memory brought a bittersweet ache to my chest. I was lost in thought when a larger wave, stronger than the others, crashed over me, knocking me off my feet. I went under, swallowing a mouthful of salty water. It burned my eyes and throat. I panicked, flailing my arms, trying to find my footing. but the undertow was pulling me further out. I heard Amy screaming, "Isabella, are you okay? Get up." But I couldn't. I was choking, sputtering, the world a blur of green water and blinding sunlight. And then I heard a splash. Strong arms wrapped around me, pulling me up, holding my head above the water. It was Julian. He swam back to shore, carrying me as if I weighed nothing, and laid me gently on the sand. My vision was blurry, my lungs on fire. I heard voices, distant and muffled. "Isabella, say something." It was Julian, his voice tight with a fear I had never heard before. He started doing chest compressions, then tilted my head back. His mouth covered mine, breathing air into my lungs. He did it again and again, and then I was coughing, spewing seawater onto the sand. He was both relieved and furious. "Are you crazy? You can't swim, and you go that far out. What were you thinking?" I sat up, still coughing, the world slowly coming back into focus. David was there, his face pale with worry. "She's okay," he said, his voice shaky. "Thank God. We should get her back to the hotel." He moved to help me up. "Come on, Isabella. I'll carry you." But before he could, Julian scooped me up into his arms. "Let me go," I protested, my voice weak. "I can walk." He ignored me, carrying me all the way back to the hotel, with David and a frantic Amy trailing behind. He didn't stop at the lobby. He carried me all the way up to my room, into the bathroom, and set me down on the tiled floor. "Take a shower," he said, his voice rough. Then he turned and left, closing the door behind him. I stood there for a moment, trembling, the events of the last few minutes replaying in my mind. He had saved me. I had almost drowned, and he had saved me. I thought of his mouth on mine, the strange intimacy of it. I had been so determined to hate him, but now I wasn't so sure. I had to thank him, properly. I took a quick shower, the warm water soothing my frayed nerves. When I came out, wrapped in a towel, Amy rushed over to me. "Are you okay? You scared me to death." Thank God Mr. Croft was there. You should have seen his face when he was giving you CPR. He looked like he was going to lose his mind, like he was watching the love of his life die. I stared at her. "CPR? He gave me CPR." "Yes, his mouth on your mouth." It was so romantic. "Amy, that's not romantic. That's a medical procedure, and I'm sure he would have done it for anyone." "I don't know," she said, a dreamy look in her eyes. "The way he looked at you, it was different. Anyway, you should get some rest. There's a party on the beach tonight, but you should probably stay in." "Okay," I said, my mind still reeling. I lay down on the bed, my body exhausted, and fell into a deep sleep. I woke up to Amy gently shaking me. "Isabella, it's 7 o'clock. Are you sure you don't want to come to the party?" "I'm awake," I said, sitting up. "I think I will, actually. I need to talk to someone." I got dressed, put on a little makeup, and we headed down to the beach. A bonfire was blazing, music was playing, and everyone was laughing and drinking. I spotted Julian sitting by himself, away from the crowd. I took a deep breath and walked over to him. "Thank you," I said, sitting down next to him, for what you did this afternoon." "Forget it," he said, not looking at me. "If you had died, it would have been a lot of paperwork for the company." His words were harsh, but his tone lacked its usual bite. He was trying to downplay it, to make it seem like nothing, but I knew better. "Still," I said, "thank you." We sat in silence for a moment, watching the flames dance. David came over with 2 plates of grilled seafood and handed one to me. "Here," he said, "you need to eat. Are you feeling better? Much better, thanks, David. Mitzi wasn't with him on this trip. She was staying with her grandmother. We chatted for a bit, and I noticed Julian watching us, a strange expression on his face. Then I saw another woman from our company, a new hire, go and sit next to him, laughing and touching his arm. He was actually smiling back at her, a real smile. A pang of something I couldn't quite identify went through me. Annoyance? Jealousy? It was ridiculous. He never smiled at me like that. I put my plate down and walked back over to David, who was now manning the grill. Can I help? You should be resting. Are you sure you're okay? I'm fine, really. I'd rather be doing something. I helped him serve the food, trying to ignore Julian and his new friend. But I couldn't help but glance over at them. He was talking to her, actually engaging in conversation, something he rarely did with me. Amy came and dragged me away from the grill. Come on, sit down and eat. David's almost done. I reluctantly sat down at a table with a group of our colleagues. I wasn't hungry anymore. The smell of the seafood was starting to make me feel a little nauseous. I had a slight allergy to shrimp. It usually just made me itchy, but tonight, it was turning my stomach. A guy from HR, Ben, came over to our table, a beer in his hand. Isabella, have a drink with me. We never get to hang out outside of work. No, thanks, Ben. I'm not really feeling up to it. Oh, come on. Just one. Before I could refuse again, two voices spoke in unison from across the circle. Don't drink it. It was Julian and David. David smiled sheepishly. Isabella was just in an accident this afternoon. Her body is still weak. She shouldn't be drinking. Here, Ben, I'll drink with you. I'm fine, David, I said, a little annoyed at being treated like an invalid. I took the glass from Ben and drank it down in one gulp. The alcohol burned my throat, and I immediately regretted it. Amy looked at me, concerned. You didn't have to do that. It's just one drink. It's fine. Let's not spoil the party. After dinner, someone started a bonfire, and Ben pulled out a guitar. People started singing and dancing. I was watching from the sidelines when David came and pulled me to my feet. Come on, he said. Don't just sit there. You're a great singer. No, I'm shy. We're all colleagues here. No need to be shy. He dragged me over to the bonfire. Everyone started cheering. Sing for us, Isabella. Ben smiled at me. What do you want to sing? I'll play. I was on the spot. I couldn't refuse without looking like a killjoy. Okay. Do you know? Lover, you should have come over. He nodded, and the familiar, mournful chords of the Jeff Buckley song filled the air. I closed my eyes and sang, pouring all of my unresolved grief for Ethan into the lyrics. When I finished, there was a moment of silence, and then everyone applauded. I opened my eyes, my cheeks flushed, and my gaze met Julian's. He was staring at me, his expression intense, unreadable. We held each other's gaze for a long moment, and then I looked away, my heart suddenly beating a little faster. I needed some air. I walked away from the party, down to the water's edge. The sound of the waves was a soothing balm. I closed my eyes and tilted my face up to the cool night breeze. Planning on going for another swim, I jumped. It was Julian, standing a few feet away. Are you following me again? The beach is a big place. I can stand where I want. He paused. You seem to really hate me. I thought about what he'd done for me that afternoon. I don't hate you, I said softly. We don't have anything to talk about, but thank you again for today. You don't have to thank me. Are you feeling better? Yes, I'm sorry I was so careless. You should be. Next time, stay where you can touch the bottom. He hesitated for a moment, then asked, How long have you lived in the city? A while. Why? I used to live in a small town, out east. But my family moved here after an accident. He looked at me expectantly, but the name of the town meant nothing to me. What kind of accident? He asked, his voice gentle. It was bad. I lost a lot of my memory from before that. But why are you asking me all these questions? He looked disappointed. No reason, just curious. He changed the subject. Want to go for a walk? I was about to agree when another voice called out from behind us. Julian, wait for me. It was the new girl from the party. She ran up to him, linking her arm through his. Where are you going? Don't leave me behind. I was just taking a walk, he said, looking uncomfortable. I immediately started backing away. They were clearly a couple. You two have fun, I said. I'm just going to head back. Isabella, wait, he called after me, but I was already walking away. I didn't want to be the third wheel, but a few steps later, he called my name again. Isabella, why are you walking so fast? Wait up. I stopped, confused. Why did he want me to wait? I was just getting in his way. I walked a little further. Then the cold night air started to get to me. I wrapped my arms around myself, shivering. I'm heading back, I said to them. You two enjoy the rest of your night. Wait, I'll walk with you, Julian said. The girl pouted. But I want to stay out longer. Then you can stay. I'm tired. But I want you to stay with me, she whined. He ignored her and started walking towards me. Then he took off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders. You don't have to do that, I said. I'm fine. But before I could give it back, the girl snatched it off my shoulders. I'm cold too, she said, putting it on herself. I just shook my head. You know what? I'm out of here. You guys have fun. I saw Amy waving at me from the bonfire and jogged over to her, leaving them to their lovers' quarrel. The next morning, we were all herded onto a tour bus to go see some famous local landmark. Amy and I were about to sit together when David slid into the seat next to me. Mind if I join you? He asked with a smile. Of course not, I said. From a few rows back, I could feel Julian's eyes on me. He had been about to come and sit with me, but the new girl, whose name I now knew was Annalise, had dragged him into a seat next to her. David and I chatted for the whole ride. We got to the landmark, a stunning bridge suspended between two giant stone hands, and had to take a cable car to the top. I ended up in a car with David, Julian, and Annalise. The view was breathtaking. Isabella, come sit over here, David said, gesturing to the seat next to him. The sun's in your eyes over there. I'm fine, really. Here, take my jacket and cover up, he said. But before I could take it, Julian thrust his own jacket at me. This one's lighter. Take it. I hesitated, then took it. Annalise, sitting next to him, immediately started complaining. Julian, I'm getting sun too. Then move to the other side, he snapped. She pouted, but fell silent. We were all quiet for a moment, just taking in the view. This place is beautiful, I said to David. Perfect for couples. Maybe I'll bring Mitzi here one day, and you could come with us. I laughed. What would I be, the third wheel? This is a place for lovers. I can come with Mitzi, though. From across the car, Julian's brow furrowed. Who's Mitzi? He asked, his voice sharp. David answered. My daughter. You have a child. Where's your wife? She passed away a few years ago. Oh, Julian said, his voice softer now. I'm sorry. I didn't know. It's okay, David said, his smile a little sad. When we reached the top, we all got out and started exploring. Amy immediately pulled me aside. Okay, stand over there. The lighting is perfect. I'll get a great shot of you. I obliged, posing for her. When she showed me the picture, I saw that Julian was in the background, a photobomber in my otherwise perfect shot. I was about to delete it, but Amy stopped me. Don't you dare. It's a great picture, and you got the boss in it. That's a keeper. I sighed, giving up. It was a nice picture. The scenery was incredible. I started taking photos of the landscape, trying to capture the beauty of the place. Here, let me take one for you, a voice said from behind me. It was Julian. Annalise was nowhere in sight. No, thank you, I said. I'm just taking pictures of the view. Okay. Where's your friend, Annalise? I don't know. Isn't she your girlfriend? She's not my girlfriend, he said, a hint of annoyance in his voice. She's my sister. Oh, I said, surprised. I thought, well, you two seem very close. She's just spoiled, he said with a sigh. Just then, my phone rang. It was my mom. I excused myself and took the call. Hi, Mom. Isabella. How's Hawaii? It's beautiful, Mom. You and Dad should come here sometime. Maybe one day. You have fun, okay? Call me when you're on your way home. I will, Mom. Love you. I hung up and rejoined the group. The sun was beating down, and I was starting to feel thirsty. Amy, I whispered, do you have any water? Oh, I forgot to bring any. Are you thirsty? A little. It's okay. I can wait until we get back. A few feet away, Annalise handed Julian a bottle of water. Here, Julian. You must be thirsty. Let's go sit in the shade over there. He took the bottle. You go ahead. I'm with the group. I'll meet you there later. But I want you to come with me now, she whined. He ignored her, and she stomped off to a shady spot under a tree. He then walked over to me and held out the bottle of water. Here, he said. No, that's for you. I'm fine. Are you going to drink it, or do you want me to give it to someone else? I was thirsty, so I took it and drank half of it in one go. Thank you, I said. You're welcome. Next time, just take it when I offer it. It was your sister's, I said, feeling a little guilty. She'll live. I'm not thirsty. I walked over to Amy and offered her the rest of the water. Where'd you get this? She asked, taking a long drink. From the boss, I said. He gave it to you. See, I told you. He totally has a thing for you. Why else would he be so attentive? He was just being nice. Amy, don't read too much into it. I don't know, she said, her eyes twinkling. I think he likes you. I rolled my eyes. You and your romance novels. He's younger than me, remember? So, age is just a number. And he's so handsome and successful. And that girl, Annalise, you sure she's his sister? That's what he said. More like his sister-in-law to be, maybe. She's so clingy, and she looks like one of those spoiled rich girls. Well, it's none of our business. Come on, the tour guide is waving us over. We spent the rest of the day sightseeing, and by the time we got back to the hotel, my feet were killing me. I had a quick dinner, showered, and collapsed into bed, but I couldn't sleep. Amy was already snoring softly in the other bed. I felt restless. I slipped on a light jacket and quietly let myself out of the room. As I was walking down the hallway, I saw Julian and Annalise coming back. They must have been out. I nodded a quick hello and was about to walk past them when Julian called my name. Where are you going at this hour? I turned. Just for a walk. I couldn't sleep. It's late. You should be resting. We have an early flight tomorrow. I glanced at my watch. It was only a little after 9. It's not that late. I'm a night owl. I'll be fine tomorrow. Good night. I walked away, not waiting for a reply. Julian watched me go, a conflicted look on his face. He wanted to follow me, but Annalise was tugging on his arm. He took her back to her room, then went to his own and stood on the balcony, looking down at the beach. He saw me walking along the shoreline, and then he saw David join me. He watched as we sat down on the sand, talking. He felt a surge of jealousy so strong it surprised him. David was a good man, he knew that, but he had a child. Would Isabella be willing to take that on? He sighed and went back inside, picking up his phone. The person he usually talked to online hadn't been active all day. I was surprised to see David sitting on the beach by himself. "Can't sleep either?" I asked, sitting down next to him. "Just got off the phone with Mitzi, and I needed a cigarette. Thought I'd come out here where I wouldn't bother anyone." "How is she?" "She misses me, but she's having fun with her grandma." He took a drag from his cigarette. "You know, it's beautiful here at night." "It is. Not like the city. In the city, I'm either at work or at home with Mitzi. I don't get out much." "You should. You deserve to have a life too." "Are you thinking of getting married again?" "I haven't really thought about it. It's hard to find someone who's willing to take on a man with a child, and I'd have to find someone who would love Mitzi as their own. It's a scary world, Isabella. You read these stories online. Stepmothers abusing their stepchildren. I couldn't bear it if that happened to my daughter." He paused, then looked at me, his expression serious. "If it were you, though, I know Mitzi adores you. I would trust you with her completely." His words hung in the air between us. I smiled, trying to lighten the mood. "Are you trying to propose, David? You're putting me on the spot." He looked at me, and for a moment, I saw something in his eyes that told me he wasn't joking. But then he smiled, a little sadly. "What if I was?" he asked softly. My heart sank a little. I cared for David, I truly did, but not in that way. He was like a brother to me. "David," I started, not knowing what to say. "It's a hypothetical, of course," he said quickly, breaking the tension. "Don't worry, I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable." He stood up and brushed the sand off his pants. "Anyway, we should probably get some sleep. We have an early start tomorrow." I was relieved. Yes, we should. We walked back to the hotel together. He was a true gentleman, backing off the moment he sensed my hesitation, not wanting to jeopardize our friendship. I knew then that his feelings for me were real, but he valued my comfort and Mitzi's affection for me more than his own desires. He was a good man. The next day, we flew back. This time, I didn't sit next to Julian. Annalise had made sure of that. I sat next to David. I was still exhausted from the trip, and I fell asleep almost as soon as the plane took off. When I woke up, we were landing. Back at the office, we all collected our luggage and went to get our cars. I was walking towards my car when Julian's voice stopped me. "Here, let me get that for you." He took my suitcase from me before I could protest and put it in the trunk of his car. Annalise was in the passenger seat, looking annoyed. "Get in," he said. "I'll drive you home." "No, thank you. I have my own car." "Just get in." I said no. He sighed, a look of frustration on his face. He got into his car, clearly expecting me to follow. But as soon as he was inside, I quickly got into my own car and drove off, giving him a little wave as I passed. I could see his stunned expression in my rearview mirror. A small, triumphant smile played on my lips. That night, back in my own bed, I felt a strange sense of unease. The trip had been a whirlwind of confusing emotions. I placed a hand on my stomach, a sudden, inexplicable feeling washing over me. Julian. His anger, his kindness, the way he looked at me. It was all a jumble in my head. I didn't know what to think. And his insistence that I take the morning after pill. What if it hadn't worked? The thought was absurd, but it lingered in the back of my mind. The next morning, I woke up feeling terrible. My body ached, and I was so tired, I could barely lift my head off the pillow. I called in sick to work. A little while later, there was a knock at my door. Chloe was at work. It couldn't be her. I dragged myself out of bed and opened the door. It was Julian. "You're not well?" he asked. His voice filled with a concern that was so out of character it startled me. "I'm fine," I said, leaning against the doorframe. "How did you know where I live?" "I'm your boss. I have your address on file. I was worried when you didn't come in." He was worried about the baby. That had to be it. "Thank you for your concern, but I'm okay. Are you going to invite me in?" Just as I was about to answer, a wave of dizziness washed over me, and the world went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital room. The sterile smell, the beeping machines. It was all too familiar. My hand was hooked up to an IV. I immediately thought of the baby. Had he brought me here to get rid of it? The thought was so horrifying it made me sit up. A surge of adrenaline cutting through the fog in my head. Julian walked in just as I was about to rip the IV out of my arm. "What are you doing?" he said, rushing to my side. "You're not well. Stay away from me," I cried, my voice trembling. "I won't let you hurt my baby." He looked at me, his expression a mixture of confusion and hurt. "What are you talking about? Hurt the baby? It's my baby too." He gently pushed me back down onto the bed. "You fainted at your apartment. I brought you here. The doctor said you're just exhausted. The baby is fine." His words slowly sank in. I had misunderstood. He wasn't trying to harm the baby. He was trying to help. I felt a wave of relief so strong it made me weak. He sat down on the edge of the bed and took my hand. His was warm and steady. "Isabella," he said, his voice soft. "I know what happened between us was an accident, but the baby is innocent. It deserves a mother and a father who love it. I want to take responsibility. Will you marry me?" I stared at him, speechless. "Marry him? I know this is sudden," he continued, his eyes searching mine. "And I know you probably think this is just about responsibility, but it's not. There's another reason. I love you, Isabella." My mind was reeling. He loved me? How could that be? You love me. Yes, I have for a long time. You don't remember me." And then he told me everything about how we had known each other as kids, how I had defended him from the bullies, how he had searched for me for years. He even confessed to being the anonymous friend I had been talking to on Facebook. The story was so incredible, so far-fetched, that it had to be true. Faint, dreamlike images flickered at the edges of my memory. A skinny boy with big, scared eyes. A dusty playground. The sting of my father's belt after a fight. It was all there, buried under years of trauma and forgetfulness. The friend on Facebook. "That was you?" "Yes, and the accident. You knew about that. You told me. Online. You said you'd been in a car crash and had lost some of your memories." He squeezed my hand. "I've told you how I feel. What do you say?" It was too much to take in all at once. Just a few days ago, I was a single woman, mourning a lost love. And now I was pregnant. And the man who was the father, my boss, my childhood acquaintance, was asking me to marry him. I need some time to think," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Of course," he said, his expression gentle. "You rest now. I'll go get your prescription." He left, and I lay there, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. Over the next few weeks, he was true to his word. He gave me space, but he was also a constant, reassuring presence in my life. He brought me food, made sure I was taking my prenatal vitamins, and drove me to my doctor's appointments. His quiet, steady care slowly chipped away at the walls I had built around my heart. I thought about the baby growing inside me. It deserved a father, and Julian. He was a good man. He was kind and patient, and he looked at me with such love in his eyes. He would be a good father. Finally, I made a decision. I took him home to meet my parents. They loved him instantly. When we told them we were getting married, they were overjoyed. Their perpetually single daughter was finally settling down. I decided to wait to tell them about the baby. Then he took me to meet his family. They were warm and welcoming, and I immediately felt at home. I even learned that Annalise wasn't his sister, but his cousin, a spoiled but ultimately harmless girl who had grown up attached to his hip. When everyone found out I was pregnant, they were ecstatic, and the wedding plans were fast-tracked. I saw David at work and told him the news. He was genuinely happy for me, and for that, I was grateful. I even spoke to Mitzi on the phone, promising to visit her soon. The thought of my own child and of being a mother filled me with a happiness I hadn't felt in years. The morning sickness was relentless, and I was always tired. I moved back in with my parents, at Julian's insistence. He didn't want me to be alone. One morning, I was still in bed when my door opened. It was Julian. "You're here early," I said, smiling. "I missed you," he said, sitting on the edge of the bed and kissing my forehead. "And I missed our baby." We had started calling each other by our first names, and the awkwardness between us had been replaced by a comfortable intimacy. He was constantly fussing over me, bringing me food in the middle of the night to satisfy my strange pregnancy cravings, and rubbing my back when it ached. "Get up, sleepyhead," he said. "I'm taking you somewhere." "Where?" "I'm too tired to go anywhere. It's a surprise. I promise you'll like it." He practically dragged me out of bed and into the shower. After I was dressed, he took me downstairs, where my mom insisted we have breakfast before we left. He drove, a mysterious smile on his face, refusing to tell me where we were going. I watched him, a feeling of disbelief washing over me. Just a few months ago, we were practically enemies, and now we were going to be a family. It was all because of this baby, this tiny, unexpected miracle that had brought us together. He pulled up in front of the office building. "What are we doing here?" I asked, confused. "It's a surprise," he said, his eyes twinkling. He gently covered my eyes with his hands and led me inside. I could hear voices, a low murmur of excitement. He led me into a large conference room, and then he took his hands away. The room was filled with all of my colleagues. David was there, and Amy, and even Ben from HR. A large banner that read, "Happy Birthday, Isabella," was strung across the wall, and on the table was a huge cake. "Surprise!" everyone shouted. I was so shocked I couldn't speak. David came over and gave me a hug. "Happy birthday, Isabella. I can't believe you and the boss are a thing now." Amy hugged me next. "Happy birthday. I wish you two all the happiness in the world." I looked at Julian, my eyes filled with tears. You remembered my birthday?" "Of course I did." He then got down on one knee, pulling a small box from his pocket. "Isabella Rossi," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I know we're already getting married, but I wanted to do this right. I love you. I promise to spend the rest of my life making you happy. Will you be my wife?" The whole room erupted in cheers. "Say yes. Say yes." I was crying and laughing at the same time. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, I will." He slipped a beautiful diamond ring on my finger, then stood up and pulled me into his arms, kissing me deeply. I was surrounded by the people I cared about, with the man I loved, and our baby on the way. My life, which had been so filled with sadness and loss, was suddenly full of hope and happiness. I thought of Ethan, and I knew he would be happy for me. My strange, unexpected journey, which had started with a drunken one-night stand, had somehow led me to this, to a love I never thought I would find again. It was true what they say. Sometimes, the one you think you hate is the one you were meant to love all along.